The Fall of Constantinople. The sun hangs low above the Marmara Sea, casting long, golden streaks across the rooftops of Constantinople. It is the 28th of May, 1453, and though the city does not yet know it, this is the final night, the last breath of an empire that has stood for over 1,000 years. But there is no fanfare, no grand proclamations, only the quiet tension of twilight. You stand upon a balcony of a modest home near the Church of the Holy Apostles. The stone beneath your feet is warm from the day's sun. In the distance, beyond the hills and the tangled rooftops, the domes and minarets of the Hagia Sophia glow like dying embers. The city is hushed, not the hush of peace, but of knowing, of waiting. Children no longer play in the streets. Markets have closed early, their stalls hastily packed, bolts drawn tight across wooden doors. Smoke rises in thin trails from the hearths of silent households. The call of the muezzin, distant yet clear, mingles with the final tolls of church bells. Two faiths, two prayers, both reaching into the same darkening sky. As you begin to walk the narrow stone paths of your district, you pass others. Faces are drawn, quiet. A woman clutches a rosary, fingers trembling. A boy carries water in a jug almost too heavy for him, but no one speaks. Even the soldiers, those who still man the crumbling walls, do so in silence. Their armor catches the last of the sun like flickers of hope, but their eyes remain fixed on the horizon. The air smells of wax, iron, and fear. Not fresh fear, but something old, familiar. The kind that comes when one has run out of stories to tell, out of heroes to summon. Still, candles are lit in windows, small lights, scattered like stars across the sleeping neighborhoods. At the Blackernay walls, the western sky burns red. There, beyond the moat and the olive trees, the campfires of the Ottoman army stretch for miles. They are too many to count. A sea of orange and gold, flickering like a second city, but one that waits to consume. You return home as the light fades. Inside, your family is gathered around a modest supper. Bread, lentils, a few olives. No one eats much. A priest passes by your window, offering blessings with a voice barely above a whisper. Someone sings a hymn, and it echoes gently through the alley, as if the stones themselves are trying to remember the words. You lie down on your mat. The stone floor is cold beneath you, but the night air is warmer now. Outside, the wind carries the scent of the Bosphorus, salty and ancient. You listen, not for sleep, but for the first sign, a horn, a cry, a thunderous beat upon the gates. But for now, there is only stillness. Constantinople sleeps, not soundly, but deeply, like an old man who knows his time has come and waits only for the dawn. Somewhere in the city, a monk writes by candlelight. His quill scratches slowly across vellum, recording names, prayers, memories. He knows he may not finish, but he writes anyway, because writing is resistance. To forget is to surrender. Not far from him, in a square near the harbor, two men embrace. Brothers, perhaps. One prepares to fight at dawn. The other does not speak. There is nothing left to say between them, only time, and a few quiet moments they will carry. If not in life, then in legacy. The stars emerge one by one, shy against the smoke-dusted sky. The moon, a silver crescent, hangs above the minarets. It is beautiful, this night, in its calm, in its solemnity. It is not the end that brings sorrow. It is the quiet dignity of those who remain present for it. You close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, the city continues to breathe, softly, like a fading song, like a final prayer carried on the wind. The night deepens. Constantinople, once the envy of emperors, sleeps beneath a blanket of uneasy silence, but in its stillness, a heartbeat remains, quiet, steady, fragile. You walk through the Mesa, the great thoroughfare of the city, now deserted. By day, it is alive with merchants, nobles, priests, and pilgrims. Now, its wide stones echo only your footsteps. Shutters are drawn, and lanterns flicker in corners where the wind cannot reach. Overhead, the city's banners, faded by time, torn by wind, hang limp, like weary arms too tired to lift. To your right rises the column of Constantine, bathed in moonlight. Its silhouette casts a long shadow, a finger pointing endlessly east. You pause there, beneath its base, and rest your hand upon the stone. It is warm, somehow, though no sun touches it. Perhaps it remembers all the palms that have passed here. Or perhaps it is the city itself, still breathing beneath the marble skin. In a nearby square, a few candles burn before an icon of the Theotokos. Someone has left a bowl of figs beside it. Another has scrawled a prayer in charcoal on the wall behind. Kyrie Ellison, Lord, have mercy. The wax drips slowly. The figs are untouched. The streets twist and narrow as you descend into older quarters. Here, the buildings lean together like elders trading secrets. Every wooden beam and chipped tile speaks of lives lived deeply and without fanfare. A woman peers through a crack in her door. You meet her eyes, and she offers a nod, not of fear, but of understanding, of recognition. You pass a taverna, long since closed, its tables overturned to bar the windows. A stool rests on its side in the street, forgotten in haste. A single bottle of wine sits upright in the corner, untouched. You wonder who left it, and whether they meant to return. At the heart of the city, near the Augustan, the Hagia Sophia looms, massive, silent, reverent. Its dome is a moon unto itself, hovering above the city like a final blessing. There are no services now, only whispers within its walls. Some pray, some weep, some simply sit, wrapped in the sacred hush of the place, as if the building itself mourns what is to come. A child begins to cry in a nearby home. The sound rises, then fades. A lullaby follows, ancient, cracked, beautiful. You pause, listening. The tune weaves through the night like a thread of gold in dark silk. It is not loud, but it is strong. A reminder, the city is not stone alone. It is voice and breath and song. And so you walk on, through the narrow veins of this aging giant. With every step, you feel its life. Faint, yes, but real. It is a city that remembers, even as it prepares to forget. You pass under an archway where ivy creeps down like tired hands. The plaster is chipped, revealing layers of old paint, traces of past generations, now half forgotten. Above it, an inscription in faded Greek reads, "To the glory of God and the strength of men." It is almost illegible, worn smooth by centuries of eyes and weather. Still, the words hold. The night grows cooler. A breeze moves through the alleys and carries with it smells both sweet and sour. Jasmine from a hidden garden, smoke from a forgotten brazier, and the unmistakable salt of the sea. Each scent a memory, a layer of the city's long breath. In a doorway, an old man sharpens a blade. He is alone, his movements slow but precise. He does not look up as you pass, not out of rudeness, but focus. His knife is not for glory, it is for readiness. Behind him, a candle burns next to a framed icon, its glass cracked but intact. The flame wavers, but does not die. You turn one final corner before making your way home again. There, a mural covers a crumbling wall, faded figures of saints in gold and crimson, halos worn thin by time. Someone has scrawled beneath it, in new charcoal, "We are still here," and for a moment, it feels true. The night grows colder near the city's edge, where the great Theodosian walls rise like sleeping giants. From atop their ancient stones, the view is endless, the land below blanketed in shadow, the flickering lights of enemy camps stretched out like a net of fire around Constantinople. It is from here that the end will begin. You climb the inner steps slowly, your fingers trailing along the cool, damp stone. The walls, built 1,000 years before, still stand proud, but cracks have begun to show. Whole sections are patched with rubble, wooden reinforcements, even sacks of earth. It is not the fortress it once was, but it still breathes with purpose. At the battlements, you find the watchmen. They are fewer now. Some rest, others stand. One sharpens a spear with slow, steady strokes. Another holds a small cross, whispering to it. There is no idle talk. They have seen the torches of the Turks growing nearer with each night. Now, the fire is so close it warms the air even at this distance. A commander stands at the edge, his hands clasped behind him, his gaze locked on the plain. His armor is worn, dented, but polished. He does not speak, but he watches. Behind him, others sleep, lying across blankets or curled beside barrels, trying to borrow strength from the stones beneath them. The smell here is different. Oil, sweat, iron, the scent of waiting. A raven flaps its wings overhead and lands on a crumbling ledge, peering down at the men. It caws once, then falls silent. Below, the enemy is alive with motion. Shapes shift near campfires. Distant voices echo faintly, strange and unfamiliar. Sometimes you hear drums, low, steady, like a second heartbeat beneath the earth. Sometimes laughter. It is not mocking, just careless. The laughter of men who do not expect resistance. But these walls remember. They have repelled Huns, Slavs, and Persians. And tonight, though weary, they still shelter hope. One soldier fingers a coin hung from his neck, a relic from a father who died in another siege. Another traces a pattern in the dust with his boot. A circle, a cross. You lean against the stone and close your eyes. The wind brushes your face. In the silence, the city behind you seems to exhale. And though the night grows heavier, the men here do not sleep. They wait for orders, for the sun, for the end. A young boy, no older than 15, paces the length of the wall with a torch in hand. His armor is borrowed, far too large for him. But he walks with purpose, mimicking the stride of men twice his age. Every so often he glances toward the city, where the domes glisten under moonlight. He does not look afraid, only determined. A small fire burns in a metal bowl near the tower steps. Around it, 3 soldiers share silence. One passes a flask. Another hums a hymn under his breath, not loudly, but just enough to feel like home. The third holds a piece of parchment and reads, lips moving in the firelight. They are not preparing for war. They are remembering peace. From this height, the Bosphorus sparkles faintly to the east, its surface calm. Ships lie still in the harbor, their sails furled, their ropes slack with fatigue. They will not leave. The Golden Horn is sealed by the great chain, and the sea is watched by enemy eyes. And yet, hope lingers, not grand, but persistent, not shouted, but whispered from man to man, like a secret only the city dares believe. Hope that perhaps the wall will hold, that perhaps dawn will bring more than fire, that perhaps the soul of Constantinople can still be heard, beating beneath their feet. The hour before dawn is the most fragile, a hush deeper than midnight, where even time seems to hold its breath. Within the walls of Constantinople, the final prayers rise. You walk the winding path toward the Hagia Sophia, past shuttered homes and quiet courtyards. The moon casts long shadows across mosaic floors, each step echoing against the marble. The closer you draw, the more candles you see, lining windowsills, stairways, stone niches. Their flames flicker like fragile hopes in the breeze, barely clinging to life. At the entrance to the great basilica, a small line has formed. Families, soldiers, priests, nobles. No rank divides them now. Each comes to kneel before the sacred dome, to speak into the stillness, and to feel themselves part of something older than fear. Inside, the air is thick with incense. Its sweetness clings to your skin, your breath. Choirs chant in slow, solemn harmony. Their voices float upward toward the great dome where golden mosaics shimmer even in dim candlelight. Mary gazes down from above, serene and sorrowful. A mother kneels beside her two children. One clutches a carved wooden cross, the other a candle stub. Behind them, a man stands motionless, his eyes fixed on the altar. Perhaps a soldier, perhaps a father, perhaps both. The patriarch steps forward, an old man, his back bent, his voice weathered by years of liturgy. He offers blessings with trembling hands. His words are not loud, but they carry, not because of strength, but because of weight. These are not ordinary prayers. They are farewells whispered into eternity. You find a place along the outer wall and kneel. Your fingers trace a groove in the marble, one worn smooth by centuries of worship. You do not speak. There is no need. Around you, others do the same. Some weep quietly. Some sing. Some only close their eyes and let the silence hold them. A bell rings, not loud, but steady, the kind of sound that doesn't demand attention, but invites it. As it echoes, others join. Smaller bells from nearby chapels, handheld chimes rung by children, the distant toll of iron against bronze, a chorus of metal and memory. The first hint of blue light creeps through the high windows. Morning is coming. Not yet the attack, not yet the end, but the beginning of the end. The faithful stand one by one and leave the basilica in silence, not broken, not beaten, but made whole by something greater than fear. You linger a moment longer, letting the air fill your lungs. You think of all who have passed through this place, emperors, saints, wanderers, and now you, not as a witness to history, but as part of it. As you step back into the courtyard, the city feels changed, not louder, not yet, but charged, as if the walls themselves know what is coming. The sky over the Golden Horn begins to pale. A thin line of orange touches the edge of the Bosphorus, like the first stroke on a blank canvas. On a nearby bench, a man ties strips of cloth around his arms. You watch as he finishes, then bows his head and kisses the stone. He whispers something, perhaps to his god, perhaps to a memory. Then he rises and walks toward the gate without hesitation. Children are being led away from the outer quarters, toward inner chambers, cellars, and secret rooms. Some cry, others are quiet, clutching dolls or blankets. A woman carries a clay lamp with both hands, careful not to let it spill. Its glow reflects in her eyes, making them seem lit from within. The great dome of the Hagia Sophia now shines in full twilight. Its golden surface gleams as if in defiance, declaring beauty even in ruin. Birds circle above, doves and crows alike. Their cries cut through the silence, as if announcing the arrival of something none of you can name. And still, the prayers continue, in alleyways, in kitchens, in gardens, whispered not only to gods, but to fathers lost in past wars, to children unborn, to the soul of the city itself. The prayer is not for survival, it is for remembrance. The sky bleeds with the first light of dawn. A pale orange stretches across the east, washing the walls of Constantinople in ghostly color. Birdsong has not yet returned. There is only wind and the distant, steady drumbeat of fate. You stand at the northern sector of the Theodosian walls, where the earth trembles ever so slightly, it is not imagined. From the plain below, the great Ottoman cannons have begun again, slow, thunderous roars that shake dust from the stone. Each strike is like a heartbeat, marking time with violence. The defenders rush into position, men in patched armor, priests with incense, merchants with spears. Few are soldiers by trade. Most have never seen battle. But they stand together atop the ramparts, eyes forward, backs braced. Smoke coils over the broken sections of the outer wall. One tower has partially collapsed in the night. The breach is wide enough now for horses to pass through. Sandbags and timber have been stacked hastily in its place, but all know it will not hold. Below, the enemy lines stir. Thousands of men prepare. Banners rise. Trumpets call out across the plain. The sound is both grand and terrifying, not because of its volume, but because of its certainty. It is the sound of a machine waking up, of an empire set in motion. And then the first wave moves. From your place on the wall, you see them, men in dark armor, shields raised, eyes bright with adrenaline. They run without shouting. No war cry, no fury, just purpose. Arrows fly, stones fall, oil is poured, screams rise from both sides. Still they come. One man beside you falls, struck in the neck by a stray bolt. Another takes his place without hesitation. You throw what you can, a brick, a bottle, anything. The air is filled with the scent of fire and metal, and above it all, the sun climbs higher, unmoved by the chaos below. They reach the base of the wall. Hooks fly. Ladders slam against stone. The breach begins not with a roar, but with the sound of steel on bone. The line holds, for now, but it bends. In this moment, time splits. Each breath becomes its own eternity. Every movement, a story. A man pulling a wounded friend from the rubble. A boy too young to fight, passing water to soldiers. A priest raising a cross over a dying man, whispering forgiveness. This is not yet the fall, but it is the first crack. And like all cracks, it will grow. A horn sounds from the inner city, not one of fear, but coordination. Reinforcements move through the narrow alleys, barely able to squeeze carts and wounded men through the twisting streets. Some carry barrels of water, others buckets of sand for fire. You glance toward the horizon. The Ottoman siege towers inch forward, massive, dark silhouettes crawling across the battlefield like insects of war. They creak with the weight of wood, iron, and men. Behind them, artillery continues its rhythm, like a heartbeat gone mad. On the wall, a commander shouts orders, voice hoarse from nights without sleep. He gestures frantically, pulling defenders from the eastern rampart to reinforce the western breach. His armor is cracked, dented, but he moves like the stones depend on him. Someone screams from below. A ladder has broken, splintering under the weight of 4 men. They fall, disappear into the dust. Another ladder rises to take its place. It is relentless, a tide. Not all can be stopped, only delayed. Still, the defenders fight, not with precision, but with heart. An old man thrusts a broken pike. A boy, no older than 12, hurls stones from a basket. They fight not because they are told to, but because the wall is their home, and the city is their memory. Near the breach, fire takes hold, licking up the canvas of an overturned tent, catching on dried wood and straw. Smoke curls skyward, black and bitter. For a moment, it obscures everything. The clash, the cries, the blood. Only shadow and flame remain, and yet amid this storm there is still a pulse, a rhythm beneath the noise, the pulse of a city that refuses to go quietly, that chooses to burn with honor rather than fade in silence. The outer defenses groan beneath the pressure, but behind them stand the inner walls, tall, defiant, and ancient. They rise like weary guardians, backs braced against the tide. This is the last stronghold before the heart of Constantinople. You make your way through a narrow postern gate, ducking beneath stone arches blackened by fire. On the other side, courtyards swell with movement. Civilians run water, prepare bandages, sort provisions. There is no panic, only the quiet rhythm of necessity. Here, among these walls, the city remembers what it was built to withstand. The stone has seen centuries, emperors crowned, riots quelled, sieges broken. It does not fear this moment. It absorbs it. Archers line the top of the battlements. Their quivers grow light. Some have taken to reusing arrows pulled from the dead. Their fingers are blistered, shoulders sore, but they do not waver. They measure the space between breaths, fire, reload. A runner darts past you, blood on his sleeve but not his own. He clutches a scrap of parchment, orders, you assume, and vanishes into a side passage. Another follows moments later, younger, breathless, wild-eyed. In a sheltered alcove, a group of monks tend to the wounded. They wrap limbs, whisper prayers, press cloth to open wounds. One reads softly from a psalter, his voice a fragile thread in the din. A man grips his hand, tears on his face, and nods as if saying goodbye to the world. Above, the battle draws closer. Stone chips rain down like hail. A section of the wall groans, not collapsing, but shifting, surrendering inches. The defenders brace themselves. Ladders once more scrape the walls, and the clash begins anew. It is here, within this narrowing space, that the spirit of Constantinople burns brightest, not in the strength of its walls, but in the courage of those who stand within them. A baker shoulders a broken sword. A merchant throws oil from a window. A boy rings a bell to signal reinforcement. Every alley is now a redoubt. Every rooftop a watchtower. The city itself has become a fortress, not merely of stone, but of memory and will. And as the sun climbs higher, painting the sky in bruised gold, you feel the weight of it all, the cost, the glory, the unbearable beauty of a people choosing to stand, even as the world tips away from them. A child hides beneath a cart, her small hands pressed over her ears. A young woman finds her there and kneels, whispering something soothing. She pulls the girl into her arms and hurries toward a stone passage leading deeper into the city. Above them, a volley of arrows whistles past. Near the wall's central tower, a nobleman in ornate armor holds a spear. He no longer waits in palace halls, no longer issues commands from comfort. He stands shoulder to shoulder with fishmongers and farmers, his face streaked with soot. Titles have no meaning here, only resolve. The enemy presses harder. From across the field, a signal is raised, a red banner high on a lance. Another charge begins. This time sappers come forward, shields over their heads, tools in hand. They aim not to climb, but to dig. One of the towers groans again. Dust sprays from a crack. A boy with a drum beats frantically near the courtyard to summon help. He stumbles, but does not stop. His rhythm is frantic, desperate, but alive. Inside the armory, old weapons are distributed. Swords dulled by time, helmets dented, shields cracked. Still, they are taken with gratitude. Hands reach out not just for protection, but for purpose, to hold something, to feel ready. You catch your breath behind a broken pillar. All around, the city moves with frantic grace, not chaos, but a ballet of resistance. Every step is measured, every act intentional. It is not fear that guides them. It is love, for land, for history, for the stories whispered to them as children. And when you rise again, to return to the wall, It is not because you must, it is because you cannot imagine doing otherwise. It is past midday when the sound changes, not louder, not sharper, just different. A pitch of finality in the clash of steel, a new weight in the cries. You turn toward the great gate, the Kirkoporta, and feel it before you see it. Something has given way. You rush through the inner corridors, past the injured, past the shouting, and into the open. The smoke parts just long enough to reveal it. The gate is open. Not wide, but enough. Enough for one man to slip through, then 2, then 20. The defenders rush to close it, but the enemy has seen it. The call is raised, flags wave, and the breach becomes a flood. Ottoman soldiers pour into the gap like water through cracked stone. The battle that had lines and order is now consumed by chaos. Within moments, the outer courtyard falls. Arrows fly from rooftops. Fire spreads from a broken oil jar. A stable ignites. The screams of horses blend with the cries of men. You press yourself against the wall as a column of soldiers passes, faces smeared, blades drawn, relentless. Some defenders fall back. Others refuse. A group makes a stand at the foot of the gate. 5 men in a circle, backs to one another. They fall, but slowly. With every swing, they delay the inevitable. It is not bravery. It is duty. You run again, through alleys now filled with the wounded, the fleeing, and the faithful. Bells ring from towers, not in triumph, but alarm. The city no longer fights as an army, but as a memory, clinging to the shape of what it once was. From the top of a small tower, a boy raises a flag, the old imperial purple. It flutters for a moment, high against the smoke. Then an arrow finds him. He crumples, the flag still clenched in his hand. It does not fall. In the square of the Forum of Constantine, citizens form a human chain, passing buckets to douse flames. A woman swings a broom at a soldier who ventures too close. A priest stands in the center, arms raised, singing the liturgy as chaos roars around him. And still, the sound of metal on stone echoes from the gate. The breach widens. The pressure builds. The city cracks. A father shields his daughter with his cloak as they retreat down a narrow flight of stairs. The girl clutches a loaf of bread, still warm from a kitchen fire. Their eyes do not meet. They only move. In the chapel of St. George, a final service continues. The priest's voice trembles but does not break. Candles flicker, casting long shadows across mosaic floors. Some kneel in prayer. Others stare blankly ahead, listening to the sounds just beyond the doors. One group of soldiers attempts to retake the gate. They charge through smoke and flame, their feet pounding broken stone. They make it halfway before the enemy surrounds them. From above, a woman on a rooftop throws a pot, striking an assailant. The man falls. For a breath, hope flares, then disappears in the ash. The Ottomans spread like ink on parchment, seeping through alleys, pressing into homes. Some kill. Some take prisoners. Some simply watch. It is no longer a battle. It is an unraveling. And still, the people resist. A blacksmith uses his hammer as a weapon. A teacher breaks furniture to build a barricade. 2 sisters drag stones to seal their door. The city is not yet surrendered. It is still speaking, in action, if not in word. Atop the aqueduct of Valens, a boy watches it all. The plumes of smoke, the clashes, the flags. He does not cry. He only watches. And in his silence, there is an understanding that he is witnessing not just defeat, but transformation. And when the final latch on the inner gate breaks, with a sound like thunder, the city sighs, not with fear, not with regret, but with the weariness of an old soul letting go. The gate has fallen, but the city does not surrender. It contracts. Retreat becomes ritual. The people move inward, drawn toward the sacred heart. the Hagia Sophia. You move with them. Citizens, soldiers, mothers, monks. The streets are choked with bodies, not dead, but desperate. Each turn, each courtyard is a funnel. Voices rise, some in prayer, some in panic. You see an old woman helping a boy who has lost his sandals. She gives him hers, then vanishes. The imperial guards make their final stand near the Augustan. Gold glints off shattered helmets. Their banner, the double-headed eagle, still flies, pierced by 3 arrows but unfallen. The men behind it bleed, but they do not break. Their captain falls to one knee, uses his shield to rise again, and keeps swinging. At the hippodrome, refugees press into the arches, hiding among broken statues and faded frescoes. The once grand arena, which roared with sport and ceremony, now holds only silence and trembling breath. The Ottomans press forward, methodical. Fire leads them. Whole streets ignite as if mourning what they cannot save. The shadow of the dome grows longer in the smoke, drawing you ever closer. Near the million marker, the center of the empire's roads, a priest stands with open arms. Some stop to receive his blessing, others do not. He remains unmoving, a monument of flesh and faith. At the gate of the Hagia Sophia, thousands gather. The great bronze doors are open. Light spills from within, golden, steady, calm. The choir sings again, not in fear, not in farewell, but in celebration of what cannot be taken. A soldier sets his sword on the steps and enters empty-handed. A noblewoman removes her rings and places them on the altar. A child lays a single flower on the threshold. The city is no longer defending. It is offering. You follow them in, not because you must, but because everything outside is now past. Inside is the echo of 1,000 years, and for a moment it is enough. Some carry relics, a finger bone of a saint, a tattered gospel, a faded icon wrapped in cloth. Others carry nothing but themselves. Each step toward the basilica is slow, deliberate, a surrender not of faith but of form. The empire has become a procession. Outside, the smoke rises higher. The sound of steel fades into distance. The cries are now behind you. In front of you, only stillness. A woman collapses near the fountain. 2 others lift her, pour water over her face, whisper comfort. A man offers his shoulder to a stranger with a wounded leg. No names are exchanged. They simply walk together. The choir grows louder as you approach. Their song is not triumphant. It is tender, a lament and a lullaby. The kind sung to sleeping children. The kind sung by people who know the end but sing anyway. Within the basilica, the golden dome glows brighter with every voice added to the hymn. The walls seem to tremble, not from the cannons, but from the sheer weight of memory, from the hearts of the faithful pressed into the stone. And you, standing among them, feel it too. This is not a tomb. It is a womb, birthing not an empire, but remembrance, a sacred space where the soul of Constantinople gathers, luminous and defiant, before it disperses into history. From a nearby gallery, a monk watches the gathering below. He slowly tears pages from a manuscript, not in despair, but reverence, and lets them drift down like petals. Ancient words fall onto modern shoulders, a final blessing from the past. Behind the altar, candles are lit one by one. Each flame added is a whisper, "We were here." And with each light, the shadows retreat just a little. And in that sacred space, where time seems to blur and silence hums louder than sound, you understand something unspoken, that Constantinople was never only walls and crowns and armies. It was people. It was moments like this. And no matter what happens beyond the doors, that truth, their truth, will remain, echoing in stone and story forever. The sounds of battle grow faint. like a storm moving out to sea. What remains is not silence, but stillness, a breath held long after the blow has landed. You sit within the basilica. The dome above no longer glows with light, only shadow. The choir is silent now. The candles burn lower. Some have melted into pools, their flames flickering on the stone like the last sighs of the city. Around you, people lie in rows, some asleep, some in prayer, some simply waiting. No one speaks. There are no more questions to ask, only memories to carry. Outside, the city belongs to others. Ottoman banners rise where imperial standards once flew. Horses drink from fountains built for emperors. Smoke drifts lazily from still-burning homes. What was once Constantinople is now conquest. A man with a bandaged eye walks past the great doors and kneels. He places a coin at the foot of a statue, then leaves. He does not look back. No one stops him. His offering is not to the victors, but to the city he knew. Far above, in a quiet alcove, a young scribe writes in charcoal on a stone wall, "This place was holy." He pauses, considers, then adds, "It still is." The city does not scream in its fall. It exhales. It releases. Like a candle burning to the wick, it does not resist the dark. It simply glows until it cannot. You walk the nave slowly. The echoes of centuries trail behind you. Somewhere, a baby cries. Somewhere, a bell rings once and does not ring again. The storm has passed. What it leaves behind is not ruin. It is the outline of something sacred, not yet gone, only changed. In the square outside, birds begin to return. Not many, just a few, circling where once crowds gathered. The marble tiles are scorched and cracked, but beneath the soot, the patterns remain. Spirals, stars, and suns etched centuries ago. A woman sweeps the steps of her home, not because she believes she will stay, but because she remembers what it looked like when it was clean. Her broom moves slowly, gently, as if brushing away the grief itself. Children emerge from hiding, not laughing, but quiet. One picks up a shard of colored glass. Another finds a fallen banner, folds it, and carries it like treasure. They do not yet understand the weight of what has passed, but they feel its presence. At the city's edge, the sea is calm. The great chain across the Golden Horn lies broken, dragged to the shore. Fishermen stand among the wreckage, staring at the water, unsure whether to cast lines or simply watch the waves. In a ruined chapel, a monk replaces a fallen icon, setting it upright with care. Its surface is chipped, the paint faded, but he smooths it with a cloth and lights a single candle beneath it. Its small flame reflects in his eyes. You pass a mural half destroyed by fire. It shows saints whose faces have melted into ash, yet their halos remain. The gold leaf catches the morning sun. You pause, place your hand on the wall, and whisper a name you haven't spoken in years. There are no trumpets now, no declarations, only footsteps, wind, and birdsong, and through it all, the quiet insistence of life continuing. The city is no longer what it was, but it is not empty. Its soul lingers in firelight, in stone, in silence. Later, at dusk, a soft rain begins to fall. It cleans nothing, but it soothes. The ash settles. The last embers hiss quietly and go dark. In a high window, a girl sings to herself, not loudly, not for anyone, but the tune carries. Someone hears it, hums along, then another, and for a moment, the city breathes again. Days have passed. The city no longer echoes with war, but with aftermath. The streets are quiet, save for the shuffle of feet and the murmur of prayers. The conquerors walk beside the conquered, and the walls that once separated them now crumble together. You walk alone through the Forum of Theodosius. Statues lie toppled, their faces broken, their meanings obscured. A child uses a fallen column as a seat, eating a crust of bread in silence. Life, stubborn and uninvited, begins again. The great churches are now mosques. Crosses have been removed, mosaics covered, but the walls remember. Their curves, their lines, the very dust in their corners, all hum with memory. Every step you take is accompanied by the past. In the markets, voices return. Barter begins once more. A woman sells herbs from a basket. A man sharpens knives on the edge of a fountain. Coins exchange hands. No one speaks of yesterday. Only today matters. Yet, here and there, you find fragments. A hymn hummed beneath breath, a piece of scripture hidden in a robe, a child drawing a double-headed eagle in the dust with a stick. The empire is gone, but its story lingers. From the harbor, ships sail out once more. They do not carry treasure but people, some seeking safety, others carrying stories. The sea takes them all, one wave at a time. At the top of the hill of Blackernay, you stand at the edge of the old world. Below you lies the new, layered over the ruins, built from them. Minarets rise where bell towers once stood. New songs fill the air. Yet beneath it all, the stone remains. And it whispers, "We were Rome." Not in pride, not in sorrow, just in truth. And the truth remains, as quiet and indestructible as the walls that still hold the city's shape. You touch one such wall before you go. Its surface is warm in the sun. You press your palm against it, and for a breath, you feel the pulse of everything that came before. The fall is finished, but the story endures. In the gardens near the old palace, roses still bloom. Some petals are scorched, others bruised by trampling feet, but they bloom all the same. A child picks one and carries it to a grave marked by no name, only a candle burned to its base. Old men gather in corners, not to conspire, but to remember. They speak in fragments, in glances, in silence between words. They share bread, wine, and memory, and for a time they are no longer survivors, but witnesses. A teacher writes the alphabet in the sand for 3 barefoot children. They recite it in whispers, watching his fingers carefully, memorizing not only letters, but hope, a language passed down like a secret. At night, the stars return, as they always do. The constellations remain unchanged, indifferent to crowns and caliphates. A shepherd watches them from the city's edge, his staff leaning against a ruined pillar. He hums an old tune his grandmother once sang, a lullaby that predates every wall. You cross the square one final time. The mosaic underfoot is cracked, but its pattern survives. Spirals nested within spirals, like time folding in on itself. You stop at the center, close your eyes, and let the city breathe through you. For Constantinople has not ended. It has transformed, and in transformation, it has endured. It will be remembered not for the day it fell, but for the 1,000 years it stood, and for how, even in silence, it continues to speak. And as you take your final step from the city's heart, you do not say farewell. You whisper only, "I remember," because that is how stories live on, not in marble, not in monuments, but in memory carried forward, one breath at a time.